Hey everyone, today is day 35. We're wrapping up chapter 15. There's only one more chapter after this. This is a chapter where Jesus is crucified. I want to thank you guys for joining us. We're going to jump right in. It's on page 76, and it starts out with Jesus being mocked. And right there, when they say he's mocked, he's definitely mocked, all right. They're like making fun of him. They put a purple cloak on him, and the purple's to represent majesty. So they're acting like he's the king, but they're just doing that to just be funny. They then go and make a crown of thorns, shove it on his head. After they do that, they go and they say, "Hail, King of the Jews," which they're just trying to make fun of him. And then they start hitting him over the head and spitting on him and pretending to kneel down. And they do this because there's just anger and hatred in their heart, and they don't take anything that he said, at least not at that point. They don't take it seriously. And then right after all this happens, they've beaten him many times. Then it leads up into the crucifixion.
So he was too beaten to carry his own cross up the hill. So they asked somebody that was just walking by, his name was Simon, to carry his cross. So he carried his cross up to the place that they did crucifixions back then, and it was called Golgotha, which means the place of a skull. So then it just sounds really dark and terrible. So they offered him wine mixed with myrrh, which is like an oil, but he didn't take it. So they crucified him and started dividing up his garments, the clothes he was wearing, casting lots, which means like rolling dice for them, picking sticks, like deciding who should take what. It was the third hour when they crucified him, so still during the day. And something that we'll see later on in this section, but something that in another gospel tells about is that at the third hour when he was crucified, so in the middle of the day, the sky turns dark. So right then you know there's something that's going on. I mean, think of it going pitch black when it's the middle of the day. That's not really normal. So they had one person on his right, a criminal on his right, and a criminal on his left. And another thing that they didn't note in here, but I think is important, is one of the guys that was getting crucified, he asked him what he has to do to get to heaven. And Jesus looks at him and says, "Today you will be with me in paradise." And so Jesus even saved one person, a criminal. That just shows the kind of love and compassion that he has for people. So continuing on there, I mean, he's just hanging on this cross. They have nails, dug. A lot of times we think of it right here, but it actually wasn't. It was actually right here in his wrist. So just imagine like thick nails that are holding him up. So they're making fun of him, saying, "Ha, you would destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days. Save yourself and come down from the cross." So what they don't realize is the story that we already know of resurrection, that happens in 3 days. But they have no idea what he was talking about back then.
And they go and they say, like, he can't save himself. When Jesus is praying, like when he's asking for God's help, they make fun of him, they tease him. And it continues until he finally, well, you'll see.
Yeah, so on page 78 at the top, the death of Jesus. So when the 6th hour had come, there was darkness over the whole land until the 9th hour. So 3rd hour was when it started, 6th hour come, darkness, and then the 9th hour. And at the 9th hour, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, and he speaks Aramaic, so it's a different language. And it says, "Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani," which means, my God, why have you forsaken me?" And you can just imagine, I mean, he just the night before was asking his father, "Take this cup from me, but not my will, but yours be done." And so all this pain and agony, and now he's on the cross thinking that God has completely left him. Some of the bystanders hearing it said, "Behold, he's calling Elijah." They gave him some sour wine and try to see if Elijah's going to take him down. But Jesus cried and breathed his last breath. And on another gospel, it actually says the last words that he spoke before he died. And the words he spoke was, "It is finished." So once he breathed that last breath and spoke, "It is finished." So in the temple, there was this place in the temple called the Holy of Holies. And only the highest priests, the most famous, well-known religious leaders, could enter this Holy of Holies place and talk to God directly during that place. So the moment that Jesus took his last breath, the curtain that divided this Holies of Holies place in the temple with the rest of the place where everyone else could be and worship was split. And it wasn't just like a thin little flimsy curtain. It was thick, very, very thick. And it split from the top all the way to the bottom. So imagine that. There was also, the earth shook and quaked. So you can imagine what the people were thinking when dark sky, earthquakes, temples being torn down. One of the centurion, which is one of the soldiers who stood facing him, saw that in this way he breathed his last, and he admitted himself, truly this man was the Son of God. So there was also, women that were looking on that were probably devastated and heartbroken. And so now we're going to talk about what happened after he was officially dead on the cross.
And so the evenings come, he's passed away, and it says, the day before the Sabbath, Joseph of Arimathea, a respected member of the council, who was also himself looking for the kingdom of God, took courage and went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. So Pilate lets him. He goes, takes the body. Bought a linen shroud and taken him down, wrapped him in the linen shroud, and laid him in the tomb that had been cut out of the rock. And he rolled a stone against the entrance of the tomb. Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Joseph, saw where he was laid. And that's what's wrapping up chapter 15.
I just picturing this, all of this that's taking place, I want you to remember that all of this agony and pain and suffering, it says in the Bible that he did it for us, which means he did it for you. And that's love right there. I can't think of somebody other than probably my amazing husband that would go through this type of agony that Jesus went through for sinners like us, for people that mess up all the time, make mistakes. His love is so much greater. And if you've never understood or accepted that love from him, you can do that today. All you have to do, it's not anything fancy. You just bow your head, you close your eyes, you talk to God like you would talk to a friend, and you just tell him that you're sorry for everything that you've done, that you want him to come and take over your life, because his plan is better than any plan that we could have. And then you continue on, pressing on in reading this Bible, in following up with us. Please let us know if you want to give your life over to Jesus. Send us an email at refugearmona@gmail.com and say, I'm ready to surrender my life, and we'll help walk you through next steps. Or send us a text message at 559-410-0655. And we are happy and thrilled to walk you through the steps of what it takes to surrender your life to the Lord, and what to do after you do that. But once you do that, you're guaranteed a spot in heaven. You are guaranteed eternity with Jesus himself, who gave his life for you. So for this next section, there's actually good news coming, which is great. We are going to be reading page 79, which is chapter 16, the resurrection. And then we're going to move through on page 80. Jesus appears to Mary Magdalene, and Jesus appears to the two disciples. So really good, exciting news, and we can't wait to see you share this with you next time. Bye.